diesely. That's kind of like what I would get from ink. Welcome back guys to another video. In today's video, it's again kind of going into that masculine fragrance space. I really enjoyed doing my last video, and I have to say to all of you gents, thank you so much. I don't mean to be soppy or sentimental or anything like that, but genuinely just getting the support from you gents was a real honor, because I won't lie to you, I was really nervous to begin with. I was thinking, you know, I know a lot about female fragrances. I have a lot of unisex fragrances, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I know a lot about men's fragrances. But I know what I like, and I know a lot of you gents also appreciate a woman's perspective on fragrances. And yeah, I just really appreciate it. All of you were super lovely and supportive. Also, please like and subscribe. It super helps with the channel. I'm so close to 6,000 subscribers. That might not seem like a lot to you guys because there's such big YouTubers out there, but to me, it makes a massive difference. So anyway, all of this to say, in this video we're going to be reviewing 3 new releases, one of them being Black Lacquer from Tom Ford, the second being Old Fashioned, and then the third being Forte Sauvage from Dior. So this is going to be really interesting. I don't know whether to actually do a rating out of 10 for these. I might do. So yeah, we'll just jump straight in. So the first fragrance we'll do is Black Lacquer from Tom Ford. If you guys know me, you know that I absolutely adore Tom Ford. I know there's a lot of debate when it comes to the brand. Now, I don't like a lot of their newer releases. I like a lot of their classic beauties and the ones that unfortunately have been discontinued. Japonais, Venetian Bergamot, Champaca Absolute, the list just goes on forever, right? And it's a shame because they've lost that creative edge, the uniqueness that they used to have years ago when Tom Ford had some creative control over the brand. Since then, they've released some newer fragrances and they've been nice, but this one I was really excited for because it has some really interesting notes. So it has notes of vinyl, ink, boozy notes, some floral notes, woody notes, incense. The list goes on. It has a lot going on in this fragrance. I was pleasantly surprised. So my partner Julian and his mum, they have a really big collection of vinyls. I'm also a huge music lover. I love pretty much any genre that exists, although I probably like soul the most at the minute. I like a lot of rock, alternative rock. I also play piano very well myself, so music has been a really big part of my life, and the smell of vinyls is really interesting to me. It smells like straight plastic rubberiness. It's almost like you got those like transparent plastic bags maybe you'd buy from Amazon to, you know, to hold your makeup. For you gents, I don't know what the alternative would be, but that plasticky rubbery type of feeling is what I get from vinyls, and you definitely get this in the beginning of the fragrance. Soon enough though, it becomes quite incensey and smoky. If you guys have ever burnt incense at home, you know, it has that churchy feel to it, but incenses can also be laced with like other things. A lot of incenses have like jasmine or different aromatic notes kind of added into it. This one smells churchy but in a very sweet floral way, and has the darkness from the woods and that plastic as well, that plastic note. Apparently it also has ink. To me, ink would smell, I don't know, maybe like petroleum, a bit ethanol-y, diesely. That's kind of like what I would get from ink. Kind of get that, but so discreet to the point where you can't smell it. Honestly, when I was getting that petroleum, ethanol type of smell, I just assumed that was from the alcohol content in this fragrance. But anyway, overall, it's really cool. I like that plasticky vinyl note. I also like that it's not just a regular incense fragrance, that it does have that floral sweetness in the base. And overall, out of 10, I would give this an 8. Well done, Tom Ford. I think you've released another beauty. So the next fragrance we have is from the House of Kilian. Now, I don't actually own a lot from the House of Kilian, maybe 1 or 2 bottles. Honestly, I think they do boozy really well. In fact, the owner of Kilian, I think he has his own brandy or cognac distillers, something in that realm. So clearly they know a lot about their booze. So this one is, from the name, an old-fashioned style fragrance. And if you guys know, old-fashioned is predominantly just whiskey. It does have other things added into it, but essentially to me, it smells like whiskey on the rocks. I really like whiskey. I like a lot of brown, thicker liquors like brandy, cognac, spiced rum. That is my jam. So when I first found out about this fragrance, it made me very excited because I like an old-fashioned. I think it's one of the best boozy drinks that you can get. This one is really beautiful. It's very hyper realistic, and I don't claim to be a whiskey connoisseur whatsoever, but to me, there's two types of whiskies, right? You have the cheaper alternative, which straight out the bottle smells very bitter, has a sharp ethanol edge to it, and it doesn't smell as smooth. And then the other type of whiskey that you get is almost like a malted, sweeter, smoother whiskey, and it has less of that bitter dryness that you get in typical whiskey. So whiskey in of itself is super duper dry, but you can have like a really nice underlying sweetness to it, and this is what you get in this fragrance. To me, it has that dry, boozy aspect of whiskey, but without it being overly sharp. It has a really big note of sweetness. It has other notes in here like Immortelle, Divana, but honestly, it doesn't give me like a green herbaceous aspect whatsoever. It's just adding to the overall malted, wheaty, slightly fruity type of vibe of this fragrance. The only thing that I was a little bit disappointed by is that towards the end of this fragrance, you lose that boozy aspect of it, and then it becomes just very molasses sweet, caramelized, which isn't a bad thing whatsoever. But if that booziness was to run throughout the entire span of this fragrance, I think it would have been even better. So yeah, out of 10, it's because it smells so realistic in the beginning, I'd also give this an 8. So that's Old Fashioned from Kilian. Last but not least, or it might be least to you guys, is the new flank from Dior, which is the Forte Sauvage. This one is going to be really interesting because I think a lot of you gents hate it, so let's give it a go. Now, this one is quite special because it is a water-based formula. All fragrances out there are alcohol-based, so this one is trying to be a little bit more inventive, probably to have less reactions on people's skin as well. I think it's cool, the concept of having water-based fragrances. Whether or not they have the same longevity, performance, and overall feel from an alcohol-based fragrance, we're yet to see. I know that Sauvage have also released a new water-based fragrance as well, so I'm yet to try that one. Now, straight off the bat, this to me doesn't smell like Sauvage. Sauvage has a very particular DNA, and that's coming mainly from ambroxan. Sauvage is a huge ambroxan bomb, and ambroxan is the synthetic chemical that is used to mimic ambergris. Ambergris is really hard to get a hold of, and it's also really expensive. So when you're going into that commercial realm, like the Baccarat Rouge, Sauvage, etc., a lot of fragrance houses tend to use ambroxan. Ambroxan gives this like sweet, tangy, and also salty vibe to a fragrance. I quite like ambroxan, but sometimes it can be a lot. This one still has the sweetness that you find in Dior, but it's all mellowed out by a really lovely note of lavender. Honestly, I don't hate it. I don't think it's awful. Do I think that it keeps the DNA of Sauvage? Probably not. I think it's quite different, and also smells like a little bit watered down, but overall I don't think it's a bad fragrance. I think a lot of guys were just saying, oh my god, this is like the worst thing I've ever smelled. I think that's being hyperbolic. You know, it's not the worst thing that I've ever smelled. In fact, I think they've watered it down and made it smoother with the lavender just to make it smell maybe a little bit more mature, a little bit more wearable. Sauvage is a very strong out there fragrance, so maybe they just wanted to make it a little bit more mellow. So overall, you know, the salty tanginess is still there, but the ambroxan bomb is not, so it doesn't have that, you know, same DNA in my eyes. And it's all mellowed out by a sweet electronic lavender note. So out of 10, I think it's all right. I don't think it's amazing. Would I want to smell this on the guy? I'm not sure, honestly. But yeah, as I said, it's not a horrible fragrance, so I would give it a 6.5 out of 10. So yeah, guys, I really hope that you enjoyed. I will be, again, as I said, be doing more masculine fragrance videos. If there's anything that you want me to review or you want me to do, please let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.